Hello and welcome, Claire Attic here, and I'm delighted that you are joining me here again for part 2 of the training series to give you a little bit of an update on the financial support packages available from the government to support businesses who are struggling due to the effects of COVID-19. For those who don't know me, my name is Claire and I'm a finance coach and profit strategist. I'm a chartered accountant and have worked in corporate finance for many years, but have also been the owner of my own bricks and mortar business for the past 5 years. It's my passion to help small business owners really get to understand the money side of their business. So just to recap then, yesterday we spoke about some of the support packages available for all small businesses, regardless of your legal setup or your industry type, obviously subject to eligibility criteria, including the bounce back loan and also the coronavirus business interruption loan. And then we went on to talk about the grant that is available to some self-employed and sole traders. So today in part 2 we are going to be talking about some support available to those who complete self-assessment, whether that's as a self-employed person or if you're the director of a limited company. We'll also be talking about VAT registered businesses where you have deferred a previous VAT payment and the options now to spread that over a longer period of time. And we'll also be talking about businesses with a premises. So some of the business rates relief available for you if you've got a small business with a premises. So just the summary table here again, this is something I showed in part 1, but it gives you a complete overview of all the different support packages available depending on your individual circumstances. So today, as I just mentioned, we'll be talking about the self-assessment part, the VAT registered businesses and the businesses with a premises. So let's get started with those who complete self-assessments. Now this is either completing a self-assessment as a sole trader or a self-employed person, or perhaps you are the director of a limited company and complete a self-assessment at the end of the year. So if you owe up to £30,000 in tax on the 31st of January 2021, you can now actually opt to spread this over a 12-month period under the HMR time to pay service. Now we spoke a little bit about that time to pay service in part 1 yesterday, so if you missed that, head back over to the video. This is something you do have to opt into. It is something that you can opt into online rather than calling HMRC, but it's definitely worth doing if you are struggling with your cash flow position and you need a little bit more time to pay. Just to add, if you are set up as a payment on account and you did defer your July payment to the 31st of January, this £30,000 will include that deferred amount as well. So to be eligible to apply for this, you will have to have no other payment plans in place. Your tax returns will need to be up to date and it needs to be less than 60 days after the payment deadline. It is worth noting that after the 1st of February 2021, an interest on the amount outstanding will be applied of 2.6%. Now you can set up the payment plan online without contacting HMRC directly, so it can be done through their website. So this is something that you may want to look into. One final thing to add in terms of the deferral of the self-assessment tax due, this is for businesses who cannot afford to pay it. So it's not an option to everybody. You do need to be able to demonstrate that you are struggling to pay so that you have those cash flow issues. If you can afford to pay it, you are strongly urged to pay it and pay it on time. Next up then is for VAT registered businesses. Now, if you are a VAT registered business and you had a payment due between the 20th of March and the 30th of June, you did have the option to defer that payment until the 31st of March 2021. Now, rather than paying on the 31st of March 2021, you do now have the option to request to spread the amount over the whole of the 21-22 tax year. Now, you can't actually apply to do this yet. The applications don't open until early 21. But if you do spread that payment, in this case for the VAT, it will be interest and penalty free. So you won't actually have completed paying that VAT liability until the 31st of March 2022. It is as well part of the HMR time to pay service. So if you missed that part from part 1 yesterday, then go and have a quick review of that. But as I mentioned, the application details have not yet been published and they will become available early 2021. So next up then is a support grant available mainly to businesses with a premises. So it's called the Local Restrictions Support Grant, LRSG, and this applies to any business that is forced to close, so they actually cannot continue trading for at least a period of 14 days due to local or national lockdown restrictions. Now I know the title is a little bit confusing because it just talks about local restrictions, but I have seen information in the government guidance to say that it will apply to national lockdown too. It's primarily for those businesses with a business premises where you are paying business rates, where you can no longer provide an in-person service. But there is a little bit of discretion in terms of other businesses too. So if you are struggling but you don't have a business premises, it may be the case that there is a small amount of money if you have been forced to close. So moving on, we have an adaptation of the Local Restrictions Support Grant, which is mainly for cases where you are in a Tier 2 or Tier 3 restriction area. You have been able to remain open, so you're not closed, so you can't apply for the one we talked previously about. You've remained open, but your business has been severely impacted by the restrictions that have been put in place. Again, this is primarily for those businesses with a business premises who pay business rates, but there is again some discretion by the local authority to allow businesses without premises to apply for this kind of support too. Now, this grant can be applied for retrospectively from the 1st of August 2020. So if you have been in a Tier 2 or Tier 3 area, you've been severely impacted but been able to stay open, you can make claims back from that 1st of August date. So the level of support you will get will again be mainly determined by your rateable value. A rateable value of less than 15 grand, you will get £934 per 28-day period. If your rateable value is between £15,001 and £51,000, you will get a grant of £1,400 per 28 days. And if your rateable value is greater than £51,000, you will get a grant of £2,100 per 28 days. It's assessed on a rolling 28-day basis. Now, the local authority is administering this scheme. They have been told by the government to make sure they prioritise businesses such as those in the hospitality, bed and breakfast, hotels and the leisure industry. That's not to say that other businesses aren't eligible, but those are the ones that the local authority has been told to focus on. So moving on then, again, this applies to businesses with a premises who are paying business rates. So if you are in the retail industry, the leisure industry or the hospitality industry, your business rates will have been temporarily cancelled for the 2021 tax year. Now, if this is applicable to you, you should have already been contacted by your local authority. If you think that this should have applied to you and you haven't heard from your local authority, then please do get in touch with them and check whether or not this is an error. So also, if you occupy a building and you are an Ofsted early years provider, i.e. nurseries, again, your business rates have been cancelled for the 2021 year. Finally, moving on to commercial rent protection. Now, commercial landlords have been prevented from evicting tenants who are unable to pay rent due to the effects of COVID. So this is something that the government have put in place to prevent landlords evicting you because you're not able to pay your rent. The protection has been extended now to the end of 2020, so you still have a little bit of period of time if you are really struggling to pay your commercial rent. Now, you are encouraged to work together with your landlord to put in place some kind of payment plan if you can. And it was worth stressing that this is not a holiday from your rent. You will still be liable for the full amount of rent during this period of time. It's just that you get a little bit longer to pay it. It still remains due though, and that is important. And if you're not able to pay it, you need to be building that liability into your future plans. So in summary then, today, part 2, we have covered those who complete self-assessments, and we've talked about the option to spread payments over the next year. We've also talked about those who have deferred earlier VAT payments in 2020 and the ability to spread that VAT liability over the next financial year. And we've also discussed those who have a business premises, talked about the local restrictions support grant, the tier 2 and 3 support grants, which are a little bit different, the business rates holiday, and your commercial rent protection. The slides accompanying this presentation are also available to download. I'll pop a link again in the comments. Fantastic. That brings us to the end of the training today. I hope you now feel a little bit more equipped in terms of the knowledge that you've gained today. If you've got any questions at all, come and join us in the private Facebook group, Financial Growth for Small Business Owners, and I can answer any questions you've got. And finally, join me back here tomorrow for the final part of the training series, which will be all about the support available to limited companies, and also if you have employees that are part of a PAYE scheme. That may be because you're a limited company or a sole trader, but any of those employees on PAYE schemes. Take care, have a good day, and I'll see you back again tomorrow. Bye for now.